Okay, so we had discussed wedge shape films, and just because Newton's ring is basically an application of wedge shape films, I'll quickly recap. So this is the shape of the film when we are talking about a wedge shaped film. It is not a parallel film, as in the boundaries are no longer parallel. They meet at a point, okay, and that angle, the angle at which the boundaries meet, is called the wedge angle, right? So I showed you the calculation, and basically I asked you to go through the calculation at home. I shared the slides with you. I asked you to draw the figure and sort of match with my naming or with some book, and see that you get the result. Okay, so okay, so this is the path difference that we get. This is the expression of the path difference. Delta equal to 2 mu t cos of r plus theta. Someone had sent me a WhatsApp message saying that in some book he got the answer as the expression as r minus theta, which is also absolutely correct. It just depends on the orientation of the wedge and the how you are calculating the thing. It's just about the geometry, whether it's r plus theta or whether it's r minus theta. It really doesn't make a difference finally to the physical interpretation or the consequences of this expression, okay, as we'll see soon. Just remember that so it's just because of the configuration of the wedge boundaries and the rays that you get either r plus theta or r minus theta. Okay, so you don't need to worry about it so much. Whatever you get your answer as, following my scheme, you will get it as 2 mu t cos of r plus theta, and some other, if it's a different orientation, for example, if you just sort of take the mirror image of this figure, you'll probably get r minus theta. Okay, important is that this value depends on mu, t, r and theta, where for a given incident angle r is constant, mu of course is constant, theta is also a constant for a given wedge. So the only thing that changes in this expression is the value of t. Okay, so at different positions of the wedge, if you consider the same angle of incidence, suppose it's a parallel beam of rays, at different positions the value of t will be different. Okay, so depending on the value of t, the value of delta will change. Okay, so applying Stokes law, of course we have the extra path difference of lambda by 2 either added or subtracted, and therefore the condition of brightness and darkness are obtained as this, which are already exercises that we've already done previously. So you just need to know the expression. Now I considered a special case where if the angle is very small, if the wedge angle is extremely small, so that theta tends to 0, and if the what you may call it, the incident ray is normal. Okay, what is this? Yes. So okay, if we put the wedge angle theta equal to 0, then the two glass surfaces are parallel, and we get the conditions derived for parallel film interference. That is, the path difference just becomes 2 mu t cos r, which is the same as that for parallel film interference. Also we saw that at t equal to 0, that is at the corner where the two wedge boundaries meet, t is 0. The thickness of the film is 0 at the corner. So the path difference will be uniformly lambda by 2 plus or minus lambda by 2, indicating a phase difference of pi, which means that at this position we'll always get a dark fringe. Okay. Again, Yes, this is what I was talking about. If we have a parallel beam of incident monochromatic light, then nu, theta, r and lambda are all constants, and therefore T, the wedge thickness at the point of formation, will decide the nature of the fringe. Okay, so the fringe is formed along the shape for a given fixed value of T, and as you guessed, and then we saw drawing a figure, that this is the shape of the fringes. So these are the incident rays, and we will get a given fringe for a given value of T, satisfying either the condition of darkness or the condition of brightness. Okay, so this is how the fringes will form in a wedge shaped film. They will be straight lines, alternately dark and bright straight lines, formed at a either a bright straight line at a particular T or a dark straight line at a particular T. So entirely governed by the value of the thickness of the film at that point. Okay, and therefore these are called Fizeau fringes. These are no longer Heidinger fringes. This kind of fringe which forms depending on the thickness of the film has a special name. These are called Fizeau fringes, right? We also calculated the spacing between two consecutive fringe, and I will not go into the detail, only showing you, because I discussed the detail in our previous class. So I'll only use the result that beta is equal to lambda by 2 mu theta, and therefore for a given setup for which lambda, mu and theta are constants, therefore the fringes are of equal width. All right. So as I told you that this method is often used to measure extremely thin sheets of material like paper or sometimes glass, and unfortunately, as I also mentioned, and I'm repeating, that this is again an experiment that you would have done had it been under normal circumstances. You are given a wedge and you are given just a thin A4 sheet paper. You put it inside the wedge and you observe the fringes using a traveling microscope. You get the positions of the fringes, you calculate beta, and then from the expression of fringe width and from the expression of delta, you get the value of T, the thickness of the paper. Okay, so it's a well known and often done experiment and also a part of your syllabus. Okay, now that we know these things about a wedge shaped film, we will move over to our next experiment. Again, an application of wedge shaped film, only now we will encounter not a single wedge but a double wedge. Okay, and so we are now ready to move on to study or discuss Newton's rings. All right. Again, this is an experiment which is part of your syllabus, and you would have done it had it been normal circumstances. The very beautiful experiment to observe thin film interference, to observe fringes, and a very easy experiment. And you know, the explanation is also very interesting. Okay, so this, unfortunately, of course, you have to be satisfied by just looking at the apparatus and the diagrams on this PPT presentation, and of course you can Google it out and again look at some more pictures which might be available on the internet, but unfortunately it's all virtual this year. So this is basically the Newton's ring setup. This is the schematic diagram of the Newton's ring setup, not the actual apparatus. I'll show you the picture of the actual apparatus too. So just a second. All right. Okay, so this is the, if you can see this, if you can take a good look at the figure, then S here is the source of monochromatic light. So monochromatic rays come out from this source, and it is incident on the convex lens L prime. Okay, so this first convex lens is called L prime. I've named it L prime. If you can see this blue sheet of glass, then this is a plain glass plate G, okay, and so this is G, this glass plate. Please look at my cursor. This is G. I would ask you to look at the larger alphabets, okay? So because this picture is taken from the internet and they have their own sort of namings, so please follow the namings that I have labeled. All right. So this is an optically plain glass plate G, and it is placed in contact with a shallow convex spherical surface L. Okay, can you see this L? This is a plano-convex lens, and this is the orientation of the plano-convex lens and the glass plate. So L and G are placed in contact. Okay, so that if you see this portion here and this portion here, the region between the boundary of the convex lens and the top surface of the glass plate, okay, that region is where air is trapped. There is air all around, so there will be air in this region too. Okay, so that air film is basically forming a film of varying thickness. As you can see that the position at which the curved surface touches the plane surface, that is the position at which thickness is 0, and as you move towards your right or towards your left, the thickness gradually increases. Okay, so this is a air film of varying thickness. Is it clear to everybody how the air film is formed between the plano-convex lens and the plain glass surface? If you want, I can explain it once again. If it is clear, then please someone unmute and tell me that it is clear.
It's clear.
Okay. Okay. All right. So this is the air film which will where the interference will take place, and because of which we will observe the fringes that we see. Now there is another thin glass plate G prime. Okay, so this is G prime. This is placed such that this light, this incident light that will eventually come out parallelly from the convex lens L prime, that will be incident on G prime at an angle of 45 degree. Okay, so the incident angle on G prime is 45 degrees, so that the reflected light will fall normally on L. Okay, so this setup for the Newton's ring arrangement is extremely important. Not only is the plano-convex lens and this glass block that is important for the formation of the film, along with that the role of this glass plate G prime is also extremely important, because if you change its position, then the normal incidence of light will be disrupted, and the mathematical analysis that we will do is totally based on normal incidence. All right, so the position, the orientation of this glass plate G prime is extremely important. All right, so the rays will fall normally on this combination, and therefore they will also be reflected back normally upwards. This glass plate G prime is very, very thin, so that we neglect any kind of deviation that it causes, and the rays will move up to the observing microscope, through which we will view the fringes. Okay, so this is the schematic diagram. Okay, now this is the actual laboratory setup. This is the actual laboratory setup. I'm really sorry, because I don't know how much you will be able to understand from this. I'm sure when you get back to the labs, I will personally take you to the lab to show you the Newton's ring setup for those who are interested. So this is the microscope. I've shown it with a blue arrow. This is the microscope. This microscope. This is the microscope I'm talking about. All right. This is the eyepiece over here. Can you all see the arrow? My cursor. Can you all see my
Yes,
cursor?
ma'am.
Yes. So this is the eyepiece.
Yes.
Okay. So we sort of how do I call it, lunge over on this eyepiece and observe the fringes. Okay, this is the microscope. So this is through which the rays move up and to our eyes. Okay, this is the glass plate. Can you see a circular black bordered thing over here? So this is the glass plate that I'm talking about. Okay, you can basically manually, you can change the position of this glass plate. You can change the orientation of this glass plate, and we actually have to do it until we can see fringes. And when we can see proper fringes, we know that they are now oriented at an angle 45 degrees, so that the light is incident normally on the lens and plate surface. So this, sir, I've sort of put a circle over here because it's not totally visible, and I have given you the actual picture of the lens of the plain glass plate and the shallow convex lens combination. So they are basically a combination. They don't come separately. They are a combination riveted like this. You can sort of turn these rivets, and you can make sure that only the point of the curvature of this convex lens touches the plane surface of the glass plate. Okay, and I hope you all can see that just by keeping the glass plate on the plane, by keeping the lens, plano-convex lens on the plane glass plate, can you see the sort of ununiform, non-uniform oval shaped fringes? Can you see the fringes, colored fringes?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, so these are fringes. These are basically Newton's rings also, but since this is just kept in separately, not inside the apparatus, this is just for you to see. Therefore, these are basically fringes formed due to diffused light from all kinds of polychromatic composite light sources that are available in the room. But even that light, when it falls on this combination, the fringes are formed, although they are not exactly circular and they are colored, but these are fringes, Newton's ring fringes. However, they are sort of deformed because it is not exactly the setup that we will finally analyze mathematically. Okay, okay. And just another thing, this thing, another transparent surface where my arrow is, this is basically this lens L prime. Okay, so your source is somewhere over here. Okay, where my arrow is, your source is somewhere over here. From here the light is falling on this lens. This is the converging lens. So if you keep the source on the focus of this lens, then the rays that are coming out on the other side are parallel. They fall on this glass plate, and when you orient the glass plate properly, then they fall at 45 degrees, so that when they reflect and fall on the combination downstairs over here, they are normally incident on the combination, this thing that I'm talking about, and then they will be reflected back normally and travel right up to your eyes, through which you will see the lens fringes. Okay, I hope I have been, I don't know, but I have tried to make you understand what actually happens. It is very, very difficult. This is done only practically, and I mean, it's just so, unfortunate that if you could have done this practically, it would have taken you a few minutes to understand the whole situation. But I am like spending several minutes, and yet I'm not sure whether you have actually understood it or not. Okay. Any questions from here? Any questions from this apparatus portion? Please feel free to ask. Please feel free to ask if you have any questions. No questions? So can I move ahead?
Yes, ma'am. Actually, the diagram actually coincides with the setup pretty well. That's why it's understandable.
Okay, so yeah, I sort of tried to be as sort of, what should I say, explainable as possible. Anyway, okay, so why rings? So now let us understand that why are we talking about rings? We saw just in our previous module that in a wedge-shaped film, the fringes that are formed are straight lines. Here again, I just claimed that there is this wedge shaped air film formed in between the curved surface of the plano-convex lens and the top flat surface of the glass plate. So there are two wedges basically. So let's go back to this. So basically there's a wedge on this side and there's a wedge on this side, and I'll tell you how we can neglect the curved surface and why we are considering it a wedge, although we can clearly see that it's a curved surface. So question arises that why are we talking of rings? Because we just now learned that wedge-shaped film give fringes that are alternate dark and bright straight lines formed at the different values of the wedge thickness T. So why rings? Okay, so once again, my very naive and amateurish attempt at 3D figure drawing to make you understand why rings are formed. Please pardon my drawing. I'm very bad at all this, but I've tried my best because I am missing my blackboard a lot. In fact, okay, let's see if you can understand through this. Otherwise, I have a blackboard now, so I can put on my camera and show you on the blackboard too. Okay, so basically, let's imagine that this is the convex lens. Although the convex lens that we use in the lab is much more shallow, it's extremely shallow. It's nowhere near this circular. But let's imagine that this is the curved surface which is kept on top of the flat surface. Okay, it's like, you know, একটা বাটিকে যদি তুমি একটা ফ্ল্যাট ধরো চপিং বোর্ডের ওপর রাখো, তাহলে ঠিক যে জিনিসটা হবে ঠিক সেইটা। ওকে ওকে, so you can see that if suppose we take this point and its thickness, suppose the thickness of this point is T. Okay, now I hope you can understand that the thickness at this point is also T, and the thickness at this point is also T, and we will have this particular thickness T all around the circumference of this upturned bowl that I have drawn here. Okay, so a given thickness T should be the same, not just along a straight line as we had got in the case of a single-sided wedge, but all around the circumference of a circle that is formed at the curved surface of this lens. Okay, now if you go to a different thickness T, now shown by this maroon line over here, again that will be the same all around the circumference, and there will be these things on the other side too. So that other thickness T will once again be the same all around the circumference of a circle, and that will give rise to another fringe. Okay, so in this manner, Now this thing I have taken from the internet, not drawn by me. So as you can see that this sky blue thing is the plano. So this is the top view now. So this sky blue thing is the plano-convex lens, which is kept on the glass surface, and this thickness T is around one given value of thickness is the same for the circumference of a circle of a particular radius. Okay, so see, if you see this, say this is the wedge, okay, and this thickness T is the same for a circle, and which is why different values of T will give rise to fringes that are circular in shape, but obviously bright and dark depending on the darkness and brightness condition. Was I understandable? These are actual, this photograph of actual fringes observed in the lab. Exactly this is the thing that you observed in the lab. Okay. Was I understandable? Do you want me to explain it once more?
Once
No,
more
ma'am.
would be better.
Okay. Okay, I'll do one thing. Just give me a couple of seconds. Okay, just give me a couple of seconds. Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
So now what I'm about to do is I'll put on my camera, and can you see the blackboard? Can you all see the blackboard over here?
Ma'am, actually, you have to maximize that thing there. Now you're inaudible, ma'am.